everybody. This is Brian Ankney with AutoSuccess Magazine. I'm really excited to have Frank as our guest today, and we're going to try a brand new format for AutoSuccess webinars that we've never done before. Generally I ask you to hold your questions till the end, and we address them all at the end. I want this to be an interactive webinar. So I want you to share your questions with us as we go. And in fact, I'm going to invite you to talk to us directly when you ask your questions so that we can have an interaction and a conversation about the topics that you'd like us to talk about today. Now, the way that you will do that is if you look, depending on your device, it might look a little bit differently. If you're on a computer, a laptop, or a tablet, it's pretty simple. There's a pane down the right side of your screen. And if you are on a handheld device, a mobile device, you'll have either a picture frame, a header, or a footer. Look for where it says raise your hand, where you'll be able to raise your hand. And when you click to raise your hand, I'll see that you've raised your hand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on your microphone. So you're able then to talk to us directly. Now, if you're not comfortable with that, talking live, you're welcome to type in the questions, and we'll address them as we go as well. Now, before we get started with the webinar, a couple things. I'm going to go ahead and show you my screen. If you guys haven't already, check out AutoSuccessOnline.com. We launched a new site June 1st, and on that site, you have the ability to basically see everything AutoSuccess. Like as you see here, I just clicked on the menu button. You can see here's all the things that we do: webinars, podcasts, blogs. What I would invite you to do as well is we've been getting a lot of really good traction with our newsletter. I invite you to come here to the newsletter, and right here you can type in your email and your name. The only way you'll get on that list is by going to our website and signing up yourself. And so if you'd like to receive that newsletter every Tuesday, please do that. One other thing before we get started too, I would like to share with you the AutoSuccess webinars. It's a group on Facebook, and basically what it is a place for you to interact with our AutoSuccess staff, to interact with our speakers, and more importantly, each other. Because all of these webinars, we cover a whole lot of topics. None of them are as simple as flipping a switch and everything's better. So you're going to try different things. You're going to succeed. You're going to fail. I invite you to share that with each other, because maybe that way, we can all reach our goal a little bit quicker. Now, what I'd like to do to get started here with Frank is, Frank, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about what got you in the car business, and tell us how you've come to know what you do about this industry.
Mm-hmm. Well, number one, thank you so much for inviting me to come on, and also for allowing me to be a part of this experiment, so to say, with this first time open forum, type of webinar. This is definitely out of the norm of the way webinars are usually done. So this is definitely going to be fun, without a doubt. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Frank J Lopes. I am Vice President of FB Digital Marketing in New Jersey, where we primarily take care of automobile dealerships. Obviously, that's why I'm here, right? I got into the car business. I've actually somewhat been in the car business my whole life. My father worked for a Lincoln Mercury dealership in East Brunswick, New Jersey. He was a tech, and when I was 11 years old, my mother did not know what in the world to do with me anymore during summers or whenever whenever there wasn't school. So she would send me to work with my father. So I started at 11, basically sweeping the shop and emptying the trash and wiping down the cars on the showroom floor, and being the gopher. And then as I got older, I started basically doing a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing, moving cars at 13, 14 years old, driving them around, and just like I said, just things that should not have been going on. When I graduated high school, I started on the floor selling cars, and I basically sold cars. If I didn't have college classes, I was on the floor. So that's basically how I cut my teeth, so to say, in the car business. After college, I worked for a newspaper for a short period of time, and then started an advertising agency, and primarily dealing with car dealerships. So now, while I'm still doing the marketing and advertising for some of the biggest dealers in the country, all over the country, I'm also very active on social, trying to spread a good positive message and trying to, I don't want to say being motivational or anything like that, because I'm really not a motivational type of guy. I'm more of a, I'm more of a kick you in the teeth and, hey, look, this is what you should be doing. This is what you need to be doing to try to help people get themselves straight, because I definitely spent enough time in my own life not being straight or being a little mixed up or something like that, whatever you want to call it. So that seems to be, that seems to be my calling as of late.
Cool. Now, everybody, I do want to let you all know I'm driving the webinar, so if you see me looking off in different directions, it's because Hannah's texting me or I'm trying to look at your questions. Actually, we've got a quick question here, Frank. It's about Facebook. You're very active on Facebook. How do you feel a car salesperson or a dealership should represent themselves on Facebook? And what do you feel is the best way that a dealership can be using Facebook right now to generate more new business?
Well, the dealership's outlook on Facebook and strategy, and the salesperson's strategy on Facebook, honestly, the two of them are going to be somewhat different. Let's talk about salespeople. Let's talk about salespeople first. The sort of say the foundational goal of anybody's presence on Facebook basically should be that everybody that is associated with them or friends with them on Facebook, number one, they need to know that they sell cars. Most salespeople working in dealerships right now, most of them actually hide the fact that they sell cars, which is absolutely it's ridiculous. I don't really understand why it goes on, besides the fact that maybe you're ashamed that you sell cars, and if you're ashamed that you sell cars, you shouldn't be selling cars. You should go do something else, go work at Walmart or something. But number one goal should be that everybody that that associates with you, that's friends with you on Facebook, they need to know what you do. You got no problem showing them that you just had a big greasy burger at In-N-Out Burger, or that you were at the bar way too late, but you always have a problem telling them that you're selling cars. And always it never fails that someone has told me that this has happened, and it happened to me as well, where you were at, like, let's say we got the holidays coming up, so you're at some type of a get-together or a Christmas party or something, and somebody in the conversation will come to you and say, hey, I just bought a new car. Hey, you sell cars, don't you? Do you think I got a good deal? And usually when you hear that, you want to strangle the person, but the person that you should strangle actually is yourself, because that person forgot or didn't even know in the first place that you sold cars. So, so that's number one as a salesperson: get your message out of what you're doing. Number two, show that you're doing it, and show that you're doing it well, meaning that you should be consistently showing customers that have bought from you. Tell a little bit of story about any kind of struggle or any kind of, like, maybe obstacles that could have been in the deal, that you overcame together with them, and show that you actually know, that you're actually good at what you do and you actually help people. Then the third step is to be a resource to everybody who is, everybody who follows you. So what I'm talking about there is you should always be posting information that's extremely valuable to the person who's friends with you. It may not be 100% important, to you in your eyes, but at the same time, it should be something that's very valuable and very important to someone else. So I'm talking about, like, for example, if you work, let's say you're working a particular area, a small area, you should be talking about things that are happening in your town, things that are happening in the school system, things that are happening, things that are happening in your neighborhood. It doesn't always have to be, hey, take a look at the new XYZ model coming out. It doesn't always have to be that. That's not a part of being connected on social media or being connected on Facebook. That's a whole nother, that's a whole nother area.
All right. Hey, Gabe, I see your question. I'm going to go ahead and turn on your microphone. Why don't you go ahead? Gabe, can you hear me? Can you say hello? Gabe? All right. Well, Gabe, I didn't have a chance to ask if you wanted to go live. I'll read it for you. Oh, Gabe has no microphone. All right.
Okay.
So Gabe, Gabe's question is, I'm seeing more and more salespeople creating a presence on social, be it Instagram pics or lot walk videos, etc. These reps need to realize we are in an overly sensitive climate of snowflakes and PC police. This week, a rep got suspended for an off-color comment. We need to get a professional message out there. Gabe, I know what you're talking about, and I actually watched him do a Facebook Live yesterday apologizing for that, and that's an absolutely wonderful observation. Frank made the point of, not letting people know you're at the bar way too late. Everything you put on social media is going to be out there forever. So if you wouldn't say it in front of your grandmother at Christmas dinner, don't say it on social media.
Absolutely.
If it's not appropriate talk for staying at the church, don't say it on social media, because you are going to be held accountable for everything you do and say on social media. I'm thankful that when I was a young man and I was in college that they didn't have social media, because I probably would have acted a lot differently if I was afraid of a picture, of every worst scenario of your entire life being put out there on Front Street for everybody to see. So yes, definitely, Gabe. Great point. Great point. Now, Frank, I have another question that came. Oh, yep. Gabe said he saw the original post and he cringed immediately. I didn't see the original, but whoo.
Without saying the name of the gentleman who actually put up the post, and number one, if all three of us are thinking and referring to the same person in our mind, right? And whether we are or not, it really doesn't matter. Number one is that everybody makes mistakes, and everybody trips, and everybody's going to do something at some period of time that maybe either is, maybe it wasn't the best judgment at that moment, or to be honest, it could be totally by accident. Even me, I don't want to say that I filter my posts or anything, because anybody who follows me knows I pretty much don't. I say it as it is, and there's no filter on the language or anything like that. But without knowing, I could very easily put something up that could offend somebody or something like that. The number one thing is, if it does happen, number one, it's a judgment call if you want to delete it or not. But number two is to own it. Is to really say, okay, I put this up. Obviously I offended somebody. I'm sorry about that. And, I didn't mean it this way, or I didn't mean it that way. And be an adult about it and own what you did. And if we're all talking about the same person, that's exactly what that person did. And it just shows the true professionalism, it just shows the true professionalism that lies within that, within that pro there.
You know what, Gabe actually says exactly the conversation I had with my associate about how to handle that issue. Own it and apologize. One thing that's helpful too is when you apologize for something, even if you don't feel like what you did was wrong, you can apologize for how it made somebody feel. So you can say, I apologize that my actions made you feel that way. And with that, you're not admitting fault, which the person we're talking about, he did admit fault because it was inappropriate for a business setting, and he was using Facebook for business. So, but, one good way, if you are going to be aggressive and you are going to, try to make statements that get people a little bit worked up, which is what a lot of marketing is, just say, I apologize for the way that I made you feel. Because you can't control how people feel about, you. That's up to them. Actually, I have a question that came in early, Frank, that I wanted to get to. This one really kind of struck a chord with me. When I sold cars, the question would be asked when you wanted to get a deal done: did you take a service walk? If you didn't, they sent you to go take a service walk. Did they drive the vehicle? Did you introduce them to one of the service writers? We had an extremely rigid sales process. And one of the questions that came in advance of the webinar is, it seems like with customers being more educated and having more information, is it still appropriate to have a rigid sales process?
I think yes and no. All right. So, and I'm not trying to dance around the answer. I'll tell you exactly where I'm coming from on that. I think a lot of it depends on your staff. So if you have a staff of professionals who know how to read and who are completely engaged with their customer at the time that they're together, then I think you have to have a guideline, right? But I think your process has to be very, very simple. So, for example, if you have a seasoned salesperson and the customer coming in is on their third say, for example, it's a Toyota dealer and they're on their third Toyota Camry, and the customer really doesn't want to drive the car, you cannot send the salesperson away from the desk and back to the floor again and say get the customer to drive the car when they don't want to drive the car and they know the car and nothing has changed about the car except they're just in there to get a new one. You just can't do that. But at the same time, you do, if you have a lot of green peas, they don't know what to do. They're completely green. So I think that goes back to where training is so important on the sales floor these days, because of the amount of green peas that are in the business, the amount of inexperienced salespeople, and the sales process has to be taught to them, but it has to be taught to them ahead of time, not learning on ups at one at a time as they're actually coming in.
Okay. Actually, a follow-up question to that is how many hours per week of training do you feel that is necessary for a sales staff? One, newbies, but also what about the people that have been there for a long time? How much training should be being done each week?
As much as necessary, without a doubt, as much as necessary. And I really don't care if you are. I don't care if you're brand new and you've only been in the business for 2 weeks, or if you've been in the business for 20 years. There is always something to learn. There's always something to pick up. There's always something that needs to be reminded. There's always something that needs to be refreshed. Whatever it is, training never ever goes either out of style. And I don't know anybody on the face of the earth who anyone on the face of the earth who is too good or knows enough that they don't need to be trained anymore. Earlier this week, I was the keynote speaker at the Rockstar Auto Conference in Vegas, and the closing keynote speaker, Damien Bordeaux, he basically trains only salespeople that are at like that 30 to 40 car level that want to get up into the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 100. All right. Now you go in a lot of stores and you talk to the guy who sells 30 cars a month, and he thinks that he's the best thing. He thinks that he's the Jesus of the dealership.
Yeah.
But at any time, if you want, you could always show him somebody who's selling 10 cars more than him, 20 cars more than him, 50 cars more than him a month. And I met a few people that are in this triple-digit club, and you know what they say? They want more. 100 cars enough is not enough. They want 110. They want 130. I heard a guy actually say, I want to figure out how to sell 250 cars a month. 250 cars a month. Most stores don't sell 250 cars a month, right? Yeah. And this guy's looking me dead in the face, looking right here, telling me that he's trying to figure out how to do 250 a month. So, it doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter how much you sell, and it doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. There's always more, and there's always more to pick up.
Right. Actually, we've got kind of a statement, but I'm going to read it as a question here. It says, does it just me, or do managers now rely solely on manufacturer web-based training as opposed to spending time to develop a salesperson? Let's pose that as a question. If a salesperson finds himself in that situation, what can they do to get the training that they need if their manager is not willing to give it to them?
Well, look, I'm not going to make a lot of friends by saying this, okay? But I know more managers that need to be trained than salespeople. Honestly, I know more managers that need to be trained on how to be good human beings. Number two, how to even be managers, just flat out. Yeah. I kind of know a lot more sucky managers than I do sucky salespeople. But no matter what, I always feel that it is the salesperson's responsibility himself. It's his responsibility, right, to be sure that he gets the training that he needs, without a doubt. And also, in my opinion, it makes perfect sense because the salesperson is the one who is going to get the most long-term return out of that training. They can go, whatever it is that they learn and whatever it is that they're trained on and whatever skills they pick up or enhance or sharpen, they're going to be in here forever for as long as they use them. and they can take them from anywhere that they go. If they go from, you know, from Friendly Motors down to ABC Motors or down to Acme Motors, it doesn't make a difference. That training and everything and that life experience, that's inside of them. So honestly, whether the dealership gives you training or not, seriously, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If you're going to be serious about being a salesperson and you're going to make this your, if you're going to make this your career and you're going to make this your you, then you should invest in yourself first. Whatever the dealership gives you, that should be gravy. And the training does not, honestly, it doesn't have to cost money. It really doesn't. You can go on, you know, we have this, you know, there's this thing that's out. A lot of people know about it. Some people don't. But there's this thing that's called YouTube. And you can go onto it on your computer, and it's got a search bar up on top. And whatever it is that you put in there, it'll show you videos that have to do with whatever you put in. So if you put automotive sales training, if you put sales training, if you put motivation, whatever you put in there, it's going to show you a bunch of videos that you can watch it. And Brian, I know that you know this, but maybe some people don't know it. It's actually free.
Yeah.
The only thing that you have to invest in it is your time. That's it. And that's where I see most people, you know, where I see most people fall is they won't invest time to listen to watch a motivational video or to watch a training video or anything like that, or their mind is so closed and so just shut off on the whole idea because they think, honestly, because they think they know everything, that they're so shut down that they never ever even take the first step.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, there are a lot of free resources out there too. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of AutoSuccess magazine.
That's one.
You can read it for free online. Every issue is for free online. You can go back and read past issues. You can listen to past webinars. You can go to our YouTube channel. There's also a lot of really good groups on Facebook. I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with 30 Sales a Month, a group on Facebook. There's all kinds of guys sharing great stuff in that group all the time, and there's lots of groups like that. And, you know, there's so many of you guys out there and ladies out there that want to improve and do a better job. There's a lot of those groups. If you have something that works great, share it. And guess what? Other people will share too. I mean, I've seen some of the coolest stuff. I wish Facebook existed when I sold cars because I've seen some of the coolest ideas, like stickers on the cars, pizza boxes. Some of the stuff that you guys have come up with is just incredible. I mean, it's just these ideas that it's like low-hanging fruit that was sitting in front of all of us, and none of us even had the idea to reach up and get it. But now with Facebook, great ideas. People are putting them out there all the time. So yeah, check it out. Frank, I have a question for you, and this is a friend that you and I share in common, Jason Gerdner. He brought up a topic to me that I thought was, speaking of low-hanging fruit, I thought, wow, this is pretty interesting. He wrote an article about it. It was the BDC versus the Customer Engagement Center. Whereas, you know, it seems the BDC was set up for failure from its start because we had salespeople against the BDC. They were working against each other instead of with each other. And Jason wrote an article about transforming the BDC into a customer engagement center. So their sole purpose would be to engage the customer to the point where it made sense to TO them to a salesperson, similar to what you might do with a manager on the floor. Have you seen that article? Have you seen that one?
Not only have I seen the article, but Jason and I actually had a pretty good conversation about it as well, without a doubt.
Cool. How do you feel about that?
He's totally right. He really is. You know, the one thing in any dealership, the one thing that has to be done is all of the departments have to all be, number one, everyone in every one of the departments has to feel safe. Right? And when I feel safe, I mean that they have to feel safe that they can communicate openly and honestly with each other in their department and with managers and also with with members of the other departments. That's first and foremost, because I think that's really going to be the first step to making it so that all of the departments work together. There's way too many stores that either I visit or, to be honest, there's even stores that I work with where the individual departments, BDC, sales managers, right, upper management, service, where they're all against each other. And they blame each other for failures in the dealership. They blame each other for shortcomings of the dealership. And to be honest, when I'm in those stores, I want to get out of them as fast as I can. You know, let's leave service out of the conversation for now. Okay, let's just look just BDC and sales. If you're in the BDC department, or if you're in the sales department, or if you're a manager in either one of those two departments, and you don't realize that the relationship between the BDC and the sales department is the same relationship that your brain has with your heart, right? And you can put either one in either spot. It doesn't matter, because if you cut the brain off, the heart stops beating. And if the heart stops beating, the brain, the brain cuts out. It's the exact same thing in the store. If the BDC shuts down, then the leads don't get converted into appointments. Appointments don't show up, which means people don't show up. You rely only on people just walking in the door blindly, and the store will fail. The store will fail. If at the same time the BDC goes and manages the opportunities properly, converts those opportunities into appointments. There are people who are coming in who want to buy cars, and they show up, and there's no sales department. Or if the sales department doesn't actually help the customer, car doesn't get sold, and it fails. So there absolutely needs to be a cohesive and good relationship between the two of them. The adversarial part of of each one of them being feeling that they're more important or anything like that, it's ludicrous. It's stupid. It really is. It's really stupid and ignorant. The two of them need to work together. More salespeople that work the floor need to spend time in the BDC. And more people who are the people that are in the BDC, they need to be involved in the meetings. They need to be involved in the inner workings, right? They need to be involved in the culture of the sales floor. In way too many dealerships, way too many times, the BDC is stuck in a back old friggin' closet or old lunchroom that was converted into a room. They're kept back there like slaves or hobbits or trolls or something like that, and maybe they're allowed to come out for the Christmas party. But on a Saturday, if that store doesn't have 20 appointments, the manager has no problem going back there yelling like crazy.
Yeah.
But we hide them away like a bunch of lepers or something. It makes absolutely no sense. That everybody in the BDC should be in the Saturday meeting. Everybody on the sales floor should be in the BDC meetings. Honestly, there should be one meeting with everybody, with everybody in it at one time. Salespeople should absolutely spend. If I was a salesperson right now in a dealership, I would spend most of the slow time on that's slow on the sales floor. I would spend it, number one, working on my social media. Number two, in the BDC. If I was allowed to go in the BDC and help out with leads or sit in on leads, right? Be there to TO leads or whatever it is, I would park my ass in there for the better part of the day, or park it in there when they can have a good communication with the BDC manager, so I know what the flow of leads is, like what times of the day we get more leads, and I would be in there to assist, to help out, to ask questions, to answer questions, and to be there as a resource. But most importantly, I could be able to scoop up and set appointments for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long time since I worked in a dealership. There's about 17 years ago, I ran a BDC, and it amazes me that the same problems that I had back then, I read about them in our magazine. I see them in the blog posts. It seems like that really, aside from technology, the processes haven't really improved that much across the board, and it's been almost 2 decades. The days of the sales floor laughing because a girl who's been working there for 2 weeks read a script and asked if they wanted a 2-door or a 4-door on a Corvette. Everybody's heard that story, But you still hear the darn story. So it seems like things really haven't advanced much in that realm. And I think Jason Gardner really hit the nail on the head that, like you said, a salesperson being in there, a BDC person is not prepared to talk about credit or payments. but somebody needs to be prepared to talk to the customer about that before they come in, because otherwise they may not come in.
Right. Absolutely. Customers now, look, this is not a car business type of thing. Okay. This is a society type of thing. This is a culture type of thing. It's no different than when any of us go to basically any website, and if the thing loads slow, we're looking for the X out button in the upper left hand corner. Right? If we can't find what we're looking for, we're going back to Google as fast as we possibly can to go to the next item that was on, to the next listing on page 1 of search. Right? We're going to click there. Our patience level is, it used to be this, now it's down to this. Well, guess how your customers feel? And honestly, not even your customers. Guess how your potential customers feel? These are people that you have an even smaller margin of error. If it's a customer, your margin of error is maybe a little bit bigger because that person already has a relationship with you, and they already have a certain level of trust. If not, they would never come back to you again. They would have never come back in the first place. You got a potential customer, somebody who's never bought a car from you before, someone who's never had their car serviced by your dealership before. The patience level is 0. It's the exact same patience level that you have when you go on Amazon to look for whatever, right? And you can't find it on the first page, and you get frustrated and you get off. It's the exact same thing. People that are calling into the BDC or that are sending in leads with questions, they want answers and they want them quickly. This is why I'm saying salespeople being in the BDC is a very, very good thing. It's good for everybody. It's good for the customer, good for the dealership, good for the salespeople. Nobody loses.
Yep. Let's see. Any thoughts on apps like Honker, Fair, and Vroom taking sales process out of the dealership and putting it in the hands of a third-party broker?
Well, look, I'm not a broker guy whatsoever. Obviously, I think the dealership model, without a doubt, needs to evolve. I was at a store this morning where we were talking about and planning getting ahead of that evolution as much as we possibly can. But I'm going to say one thing: if the only reason that brokers exist, right, is because there's a need for them or there's a market for them. If there wasn't a market for brokers, brokers would not exist because they would not be able to sustain themselves. They would have no value. They would have no value in the marketplace whatsoever. So I think if dealerships do not evolve, and this evolution is something that's I mean, it's here. Like it's already here. So if we don't evolve with culture and if we don't evolve with time, then brokers they're going to creep in. They're going to creep in because they're going to provide a service that we don't.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know what? I think there's a portion of our population that is going to adopt things like anything new like that quickly. But there's a much larger portion of our population. I mean, the average person comes into the car dealership and drives home in a car that they didn't intend on buying. And a broker can't show you the car that fits into your credit or the car that fulfills your needs that you never thought of. And so if we do a better job, we can preserve our industry, at least for, throughout our careers. Let's see here. Oh, this is interesting. Do you feel that dealer evolution should include virtual reality sales experiences?
Once again, that's going to come along with the evolution of VR. As VR gets stronger and as VR works itself into our culture, absolutely, 100%. There's going to be what that need is. I don't know. Actually, nobody knows because if they didn't, because it hasn't really been discovered yet. VR now is very similar to to internet and websites, let's say like 1995 or 1998, where it was coming, everybody was talking about it, but most of the conversations ended with yeah, okay, well, let's see how that works out, because nobody really knows. So is it going to become something? Yes, as long as VR totally becomes a part of our culture that we're going to have to I don't want to say deal with, but it's just going to become something that we're all going to do. Have you had any experiences with the VR headsets that are available on the market now, Brian?
Yes, I have. And actually, at NADA last year, a client that is developing that. I wore a VR headset, and I was able to look around as if I was in the car. Like, I mean, which it's not that far fetched. I mean, there's video games like that. So,
right.
And I guess that's something that that people are actively working on. I think that the big problem with it is the expense and the experience. The experience was cool because it was cool tech, but it wasn't. I mean, I think I would have known more about the car by looking at pictures. It wasn't that impressive. But it's like you said, it's websites in 1998. Who knows where we'll be in 10 years? I think it's definitely coming.
Right. One thing I can tell you is that if you wear one of those headsets and experience something in VR, whatever the time period is, there's a time period where it's almost too long. When you take that thing, off, you've got an adjustment period to get back to reality again.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see. I hope that it's a part, Brian, of our lifetime, and everybody watching this, I hope it's a part of our lifetime so that we get to experience it, because I think it's, of it being like main culture, because I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be something else. And like a lot of people will say, and then the robots will all come and, and kill us all.
Yeah. Actually, we have a comment on there that I guess Fiat has a really good virtual reality experience. If you could, if you don't mind, if you have a link to that or something, please post it, and I'll add it to the web. I'll add it to the email that goes out after the webinar, so everybody can see that. Gabe, if you have a link to that, I'd love to share that with everybody. Frank, there's another topic I'd like to bring up to you that people have been. I see it a lot. Everybody's doing the tools where when a person comes into service, in advance if they're in an equity position and which vehicle to show them. And there's a couple of different schools of thought. There's the one school of thought where the salespeople go out and greet their customer, and then there's this, and then they know who's coming in, so they know when they need to go, and they talk to their customers. Now there's another trend that I feel is gaining a lot of speed, is that they have a person who is a manager that stays in the service drive all day and works every customer that comes in, which of course brings up a very strong rubbing point to the salespeople, because they're losing their repeat and referral business because they're through the service department and to this other person. From your experience in being in stores, which system have you seen work best, or do you feel that both work, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, both of the systems work. There's one store that I work with that comes to mind where they don't have a person working the service drive. They have 3 people working the service drive.
Oh wow.
They have 3 people working the drive, and they invest a tremendous amount of time every day in the afternoon looking at all of the vehicles that are coming in that have appointments for the next day. And I mean, this works like, this works very, very, it's pretty strong. You got to see it for yourself. Every one of those salespeople has a workstation with 4 independent monitors, so that they can they can have all of the appointments up, so that they can have Toyota Motor Credit's website up on another one, so that they can have the DMS open on another one, and so that they can desk a deal on the 4th one. So what they're doing is they're looking at the cars that are coming in. They're looking to see what the payoffs are, and the killer is they don't use any software. They don't use.
Oh wow.
For example, a Mastermind or Auto Alert or anything. They're taking them one by one and getting real hard numbers on each one of the vehicles. So they see a VIN numbers coming in, they type it into TFS, they see what the payoff is. They're guesstimating what the ACV on the trade is, and then they're running a lease or a finance on a 2018, putting a package together so that when they go and sit in front of the customer, they have numbers that are 100% accurate, with the exception of the trade. May be a little bit off, but the ballpark on that is going to be very, very close. That store sells somewhere in the vicinity of 30 to 50 cars a month out of the service drive.
Wow.
Between 3 people, and the grosses are good. And the salespeople that are there, to be honest, if the service lane salesperson catches that customer, well, shame on the original salesperson that they didn't keep up with them and tried to get them out of their car early.
Yeah. That is, I mean, it's definitely something that's growing. I mean, there's a lot of technology that does it. I'm surprised that store probably has, I mean, I probably looked at it. I mean, there's a ton of that tech. We have a comment here. This is a situation that I have not been exposed to. It says my last store, at my current Honda store, we have a person working the service drive doing equity opportunities. She brings the clients to the showroom when they are interested in a transition. It seems like the blending of both processes. It says, here's another comment. My last store, one of the managers doing this themselves, always was too much added to the manager's plate, and it never worked well.
Yeah, exactly. Any one of those systems that you want to do, if you want to do equity if you want to try to do equity mining and use an auto alert system like Auto Alert or Mastermind or one of those type of software systems, if you want to have a system like what I just described with salespeople that are running, that are constantly running fresh deals on all the cars that are coming into the service lane the next day, if you want whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to do shop at home services, if you want to, whatever it is, you have to be completely dedicated and committed to that process, and you have to give it enough time to actually put the process in place to where you're working it with a dedicated person. You can't go and multitask this type of shit out. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Whoever it is that's in it is always going to go to the path of least resistance to make money. Always, and if this type of thing is something that's new, like let's say, for example, a store is going to do a shop at home type of service, right? Where the customer can call in and say, yeah, I want to see a black Toyota Camry. Can you bring it to my office? Right? And if that's going to be, if it's going to be where a salesperson is going to do that or take a floor up, guess what? The person at the office the Camry's never going to show up for them to see. Because that person's always going to go with the path of least resistance to say, well, I've got somebody coming in at 2 o'clock, or I've got, there's 2 ups on the floor right now. That guy's never going to have it. It needs to be its own process. It needs to be its own people, and those people need to have 100% skin in the game on that process being successful. And the dealer has to be able to say, okay, for a certain period of time, guess what? This shit may not be profitable. It may not work, but I'm looking at this on a long term. There has to be a long-term investment. Same thing like the stock market. If you think every single stock that you buy is going to go up 10, is going to go up 10 points in a day, you're going to be pretty disappointed with the stock market, very, very quickly. It's a long-term type of investment and type of outlook on it.
Yeah, I don't normally like to share any type of gross profit numbers on any of our presentations, but I'm going to share a story about a car salesman that I observed in the 90s when I was a lot tech, when I was in high school. This guy was the best BMW salesman I've ever seen in my life. And this guy, he would do the same thing. He would take the car that somebody's in when they're coming in for service. He would have the newer version of it for them to drive while their car was getting worked on. And when they showed back up, he would have the numbers to show them that that they would have that same payment. And what he told me is that the reason why that was such a good deal is because those people hadn't shopped all over town. They didn't even know they were going to buy a car that day.
Right.
They just came in, and they weren't trying to compress the gross profit. They were just happy they were getting a brand new car at the same payment or less or $10 more. And so they weren't these tiny minis that people are accustomed to getting. These were deals like from the good old days.
Uh-huh.
These people were just happy they were getting a new car. Let's see. There's is there any? If anybody else has any questions left, because we're about the amount of time that we like to do. Type in your questions right now. I would like to invite you, Frank, to share with us something that you'd like to leave with our audience today, something you think that they need to be thinking about to improve their business.
Yeah, it's a very simple process, very, very simple thought that I really want to leave with everybody, and it's really simple. I really hope that everybody can get it. Whatever it is that you want to do, okay, it's possible. I'm going to tell you flat out, it's possible. Whatever it is that you want to learn, you can learn it. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, you can achieve it. If you're willing to put in the work that's necessary, and if you're willing to have your mind open to the possibility of even doing it in the first place, and if you can keep the negativity and the negative people out of your way, you'll be able to do anything. So if you're a salesperson at a dealership right now and you're stuck in that, like, say, for example, 7 to 10 range, and you want to get yourself up to 20, don't let some salty old dog who sits at the desk behind you tell you, oh, I can't do it because there's not enough ups here. Oh, can't do it because they go too low on the trades. Can't do it because F&I can't get anybody approved. All that's bullshit. You can do whatever you want. And if those factors are actually, if those things are actually true, then you're at the wrong dealership. You need to change. You need to get your butt up, and you need to go and interview at another store. But if you're at 7 to 10 and you want to get to 15, 20, you can do it. If you're at 15 to 20 and you want to get up to 25, 30, you can do it. If you're doing 35 to 40, I know a lot of guys, 35 to 40 cars a month, you want to get in that 50 or 60, you can do it. You got to want to, number one. You got to be willing to put in the work, number two. And number three, you got to block out everything else that is going to keep you from doing it. Anybody who tells you no, you got to shut them off right away. You can do it. You just got to want to, and you just got to want to learn. The resources are out there, and the best, like I said before, the resources that you need, they're free. They're free. Just most of the people that are the best at teaching, that are the best at training, that are the best at what they do, they share everything that they know. Right, Brian? Because we all know sharing it is actually easy. Executing is the part that's hard. That's why the people that know, the people that are in the know, they have no problem telling you what to do. They have no problem telling you what they're doing. You want to know what a person who sells 30 cars a month, you want to know what he does to sell 30 cars a month? Go ask him. You got to, you know, if you're, let's say, for example, if you're a GM and you have another store that you know that has a kick-ass website, or you know that they're really good at search, you know what? Ask them. Ask them what they do. Yeah. You'll be surprised how many people will actually answer you, and they'll tell you the truth, because they know that the information is only the first step. Executing is actually where it's at. Executing is actually the hard part.
Yeah. One thing too that you had mentioned, that the F&I can't get them bought, or we don't turn up into trades, or whatever that issue is. There's one great resource that everyone on this call has. If your dealership can only get 700 and up scores bought, guess what? Everybody who bought a car from you must have had a 700 and up score, and guess who they hang out with? Other people who look exactly like them and have 700 scores. So if the people walking in the door, say 20% of them have a 700 score, why don't you call the people that you just sold a car to and ask them about their friends and family? Because odds are, birds of a feather fly together, right? I mean, they're going to know other people. Those referrals will be people who can buy cars from you. With that being said, I'd like to thank you, Frank, and I'd like to. Would you share with everybody one more time, because we've had some people that just joined us. Would you share what your business is and how you help dealers?
Right, absolutely. Frank J Lopes, I'm Vice President of FB Digital in New Jersey. We handle dealers coast to coast, mostly with digital marketing, but our company is a little bit different because we're very big on marketing strategy. We're very big on CRM implementation in your store, getting the most out of your CRM. And we come from a completely different position where I care more about the experience that your customer has on your website, how they found you, and the message that they get when they land on your website, not just about inventory, about why they should buy a car from you, why they should buy a car from your dealership, because that's, honestly, that's really what matters the most. It doesn't matter if you have the black Camry in stock. What matters is why the customer should buy from you. So that's the message that we push out. That's basically what we do for dealers. I'm available anywhere on social media. All you got to do is go to Google, type in my name, Frank J Lopes, or type in my hashtag, #GetMoreFrank, and you will find me in multiple places. And I'm always open to answer questions, to share ideas, to share knowledge, whatever it is that you need. If I got it, it belongs to you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for coming on today, Frank. I hope to have you on again sometime soon. Everybody on this webinar, if you enjoyed what you saw today and you saw value in it, please join us for a future AutoSuccess webinar, and invite other people that you know in the car business. If there's somebody else that you feel this information would benefit, invite them to come to the next webinar you come to, or request a recording from me, or go to AutoSuccess webinars on Facebook. It'll be posted there in about 2 hours. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.